If you've been suffering from back pain for a while, chances are someone has told you you need to start stretching your hamstrings. But in this video, I'm going to show you why that might not be a good idea. If you don't know who I am, my name is Harlow and I'm the Over-Fifties specialist physio here at HT Physio in Farnham. And today I'm going to be revealing why many people should stop stretching their hamstrings if they've got lower back pain. Now, your hamstrings are a group of muscle that lives at the back of the thigh, so they attach behind the knee and also up into the pelvis. So to show you where the hamstrings are on me, they start just under the buttock and go all the way down behind the knee, and their job is to bend the knee and to push the hip out behind you. So they're a very important muscle group, but they tend to get a bad rep for back pain because when your hamstrings are tight, given that they attach here, they can pull your pelvis into a funny position and put stress on the back. So that is true. So what many people think is that, oh, if I stretch my hamstrings, I'm going to be taking pressure off my lower back. But before you go out and stretch your hamstrings, you need to understand the other side of the coin. Now, many people develop something called an anterior pelvic tilt throughout the course of their life. And this happens because we get tightness not at the back, but at the front of the hip, usually because they've been sitting for too long. Now, an anterior pelvic tilt can also cause lower back pain. So an anterior pelvic tilt, or an excessive tilt like this, is not typically thought of as a good thing. The back doesn't tend to like it. But the body is quite clever. If we have a thing that the body doesn't like, or a posture that it doesn't agree with, sometimes it will try to compensate. So often what happens in people who have an anterior pelvic tilt is the body will cause the hamstrings to tighten up to pull the pelvis back into a more neutral position. Okay, so what's happening is the hamstrings are becoming tight, not because they're causing a problem, but because they're trying to fix a problem. Okay, and this happens for people who work office jobs or who drive a lot. They think, oh, I've got such tight hamstrings and back pain, it must be the hamstrings that are causing it. But what's often happening is the hamstrings are protective. Okay, they're trying to stop the problem caused by this excessive anterior pelvic tilt. So you can tell if you're one of these people, because if you stretch your hamstrings and the back pain gets worse, that means they are trying to prevent you from falling into this posture. And when you're stretching them, you're allowing yourself into that bad posture again. I can appreciate this is quite difficult sometimes to wrap your head around. It took me a while to understand this myself, but I'm just giving you the facts. This is what we sometimes see in the clinic. So if you've been stretching your hamstrings and it's making your problem worse, just stop stretching them. I'm going to give you an alternative in a minute. The other reason why stretching your hamstrings for back pain can sometimes be a bad idea is because the hamstrings and the sciatic nerve are incredibly closely linked. So if you have sciatica as well as back pain, which is pain that runs down into the buttock and down the back of the leg, it could also be that your sciatic nerve is affected. Now, if you try to stretch your hamstrings by lifting your leg up in the air or bending forward in a chair with your legs straight, it's almost impossible to not stretch your sciatic nerve at the same time. And nerves hate to be stretched. So if we try and stretch the hamstrings, we're also going to stretch the sciatic nerve. And if you've got sciatic nerve irritation, it's going to make it worse. So this is why I tell pretty much everybody with sciatica not to stretch their hamstrings, because it almost always aggravates it. But if you have a little bit of sciatic irritation and you've got back pain as well, it's also wise for you to stop stretching your hamstrings. So that being said, I'm going to show you an alternative that can help many people with back pain more than a hamstring stretch. This exercise obviously isn't suitable for everyone, so get checked out before you give it a go. And if it makes your pain worse, definitely avoid it. So that being said, let's have a look at the exercise now. So as I said, stretching the hamstrings can aggravate the problem with the lower back for many people. A lot of people are doing hamstring stretches like this, and it's just making their back pain worse. The other way people do it is they lie on their back and they lift their leg up in the air. Again, it's not a great way to fix back pain in the first instance. So what I'm going to show you now is an alternative exercise to try instead. Obviously, only do this if it feels comfortable and if it's safe for you personally to do so. Before I show you the exercise, I'm just going to tell you that over 88% of people who watch these videos have not subscribed to the channel. So if that's you, make sure you go down, subscribe to the channel before coming back up, because then you'll be the first to hear about our new videos when they come out. Anyway, now that that's been said, let's have a look at this stretch. So this, instead of stretching the hamstrings, is going to stretch this muscle here called the hip flexors. So what I would like you to do is, if you find somewhere you can just put your hands against, just to give you some support, and you want to get down into this position here, which is like one knee down at 90 degrees and the other knee up at 90 degrees like this. Now, for many people, this position already is enough to start to feel a stretch at the front of the hip, which is where we're trying to stretch. So this is your hip flexor here, and what we're going to do to make that stretch a little bit more amplified is to just squeeze the buttocks together and imagine we're trying to tuck our pelvis underneath us. So me doing that like that already, I can feel that stretching quite strongly there. And the reason this is stretching is because many people are in an anterior tilt, which is like that, but going into this position is putting you in a posterior tilt, which is actually what your tight hamstrings are trying to do for you, okay? They're trying to pull you into a posterior tilt. So we're encouraging that movement by stretching the muscle that's preventing us from doing that. So what I'm hoping to do is to relieve the anterior pelvic tilt on the pelvis, which should bring the pelvis more into a neutral position, and for many people that is enough to help their back pain. So I would hold this position for 30 seconds, then you swap over, do the other side, so it stays exactly the same, one knee up, one knee down, get to this upright position, then squeeze the buttocks, roll the pelvis underneath as if you're trying to tuck your tail between your legs. That's another good cue to use, and you should find a stretch this time in this leg here. So again, 30 seconds on each leg, do it a few times per day. Try that and see if it helps your back pain rather than hamstring stretches. If you find it more useful, then great, that means that you've identified the problem. If it doesn't work, it's worth getting checked out to see if there's something else going on that you should be stretching instead. Anyway, I hope that's been useful. So that's why you should stop stretching your hamstrings, and a great alternative to try instead. I hope that video has been useful. If it has, please leave me a comment below and let me know your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to get more from me, you can pick up a copy of my book. It's called Thriving Beyond 50, and you can find it on Amazon using the link below. It's got loads more tips and tricks to do with back pain inside. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to speaking to you on the next video.